talk about those rebounds. Northeastern has had some second chance tries, haven't really been able to get all of them. But Quincy Ford already with 6 rebounds in this game, and Joel Smith with 5. That's huge numbers for Northeastern here with 3.5 minutes to go in the first half.
And especially when you're only playing one big man at a time, it's great to see the guards and the swingmen coming back to the hoop and helping.
Walker gets it into Ford. Ford looks to turn around, does not have anywhere to go over Guyanicic. Now Lee will step out, driving along the baseline, and he is pushed out by Guyanicic. And it'll be a foul against the big man, his first of the game, the team's 6th of the half. And Northeastern has committed 8, so we're getting into the bonus for both teams here. On the next foul for George Mason, and the Patriots already there the next time Northeastern commits a foul.
And good for Lee to recognize the mismatch there, use his speed, force Guyanicic into the foul.
Smith dumps it down to Marshavelski. Back out to Lee, who's being guarded by Wright. Smith bounces it, now tries to get in. Quincy Ford on the free throw line. Walker into Marshavelski, reaches his arms out, trying to bring it in. Turns around, floats it in. Dinko Marshavelski, a nice shot. We've seen his offensive game really improve as this season goes on.
You can tell that while he was out injured, he worked on his post move. He worked on the things he could outside of contact, and when you're that big, no one can stop it once you get in your spot.
Knocked out of bounds as Sherrod Wright tried to receive a pass right into the lap of Pat Duquette, one of the assistant coaches for Northeastern on the Huskies bench. So Northeastern up 23-18 right now. Another mistake there for George Mason that Northeastern will try to capitalize on.
Huskies possibly could build up a nice lead going into halftime. It'd be a great momentum swing out of this first half.
Smith, no look pass to Marshavelski. From the elbow, it's in. Smooth shot from Dinko Marshavelski, and we talked about how much he's developed his post moves, but that mid-range jumper and extending his range a little bit, big addition for Dinko Marshavelski.
Absolutely, and this is a lot like the Towson game. Once he gets minutes, once he gets that rust off and starts feeling it, he can become a dominant offensive player.
Going in is Vaughns over the defender, and it's going to be a foul called against Northeastern. Jimmy McCarthy, the assistant coach, is confused. He thinks it should be an offensive foul. We'll take another look, see what the camera says. Vertrail Vaughns goes in, and it looks like it was tough, but probably the right call made by the official. So Vaughns at the free throw line for 2, a 7-point lead for Northeastern. Vaughns trying to cut into that, can't do it with the first free throw. Huskies right now on an 8-0 run. That's what Vaughns is trying to break up, and that's just over the last 3 minutes. Vaughns does do that and gets the second free throw to go in, making it 25-19, 2 minutes and 10 seconds left to go, and Quincy Ford will have to take a timeout with Marko Guyanicic waving his arms right in front of him on the inbound pass. So the Huskies up by 6, a close game as we expected.
Absolutely, but for the Huskies, a 6-point lead here. This game is very low scoring. 6 points could be a major mountain for this George Mason team, and one of the things that you like to point out is Sherrod Wright has not played a lot of minutes in this first half. The trainer's not working with him. We haven't seen any injuries, so that's a big situation for George Mason. We're not quite sure what's going on.
And we do want to remind you, as you just saw on the screen, the women's ice hockey team hosting the Women's Beanpot February 5th and 12th here at Matthews Arena. Tickets at goinu.com/tickets, and the men's Beanpot tickets also available on Monday, January 28th at the Blackman Auditorium box office. Here's some highlights from so far in the first half. Great play there by David Walker, especially on the sideline, being able to keep it in, and now back into action as Quincy Ford will get it into John Lee. Still trapped out in the corner, and Guyanicic called for his second foul. 2 of them right along the baseline, playing pretty good defense, but just enough of a bump on both plays. The other one was just a moment ago on the other baseline that actually both times John Lee ended up out of bounds. And if not for that little tiny bump, he's been getting lucky with those.
Well, Guyanicic on that play, he's got to get his foot on the baseline so that there's nowhere for John Lee to go around him, because John Lee's too fast for him. So he has to give him nowhere to go, otherwise he can't keep up with him.
It is 1-1 as Northeastern is now in the bonus. 7 fouls against George Mason here in the first half. And the first free throw rims out Rebounded by George Mason.
We've talked about it all first half. Those opportunities, though, those free points right there, that could really come back to haunt this Huskies team.
At the free throw line, Northeastern now just 1 for 4 as Mason brings it up. Under 2 minutes to go, trailing by 6. Now Copes with his 2 fouls, turns around, tries to get it to Edwards. Edwards off top. Dribbles it around, looking for someone to go to. Has to go over to his left for Vaughns. Getting around Walker, stepping in, taking the shot with 3 on the shot clock, and sinking it down. 25-21 for Northeastern, minute and a half left.
And a lot of confidence there for Virtual Vaughns, the junior. Great jump shot from him.
Smith is draws a foul on the floor, and that one is called against Vaughn Gray. So Joel Smith will head to the free throw line. Smith, the best free throw shooter in the CAA at about 89%. First on the 1-on-1 is good. He'll get the second. Made me nervous on that one for a moment. Almost bounced out, but Joel Smith tends to get those friendly rolls.
Yeah, it's called shooter's touch, and when you have the ability to shoot the ball like him, the basketball gods look down on you.
Nothing but net on the second. Got that one in nice and easy to push the lead back out to 6 for the Huskies, 27-21. As the clock continues to wind down, 1 minute and 15 left to go in the first half.
And if the Huskies can go into halftime, anything 6 or up, it'll be a big victory for them in this first half.
Ford reaches in his arms, tips the ball away, and now Copes will chase it out of bounds. And no call from the officials. And it will go back to George Mason. They'll say that Quincy Ford last touched it before it rolled out of bounds. Nice play, though, by Quincy Ford to get his arms in there on that play without committing the foul. And the shot clock did not reset, so it'll be 15 seconds. And George Mason will have to get it up basically the entire length of the floor as Zach Stahl re-enters for the Huskies.
And that's the second time this game we've seen Ford anticipate the dribble, get a long arm in there. As you said, no foul, able to knock the ball away.
Guyinic gets it in. Now it's up to Vaughns. Minute left to go in the first half. Edwards with 7 on the shot clock, tries to go in. Now back up top. Guyinic the 3, well short. An air ball goes out of bounds. Back to Northeastern.
And for Guyinic, he's not a three-point shooter at all. He's only hit 10 on the season, so for the Huskies, great defense to force him into that shot.
Makes about 30% of his shots, but like you said, doesn't take all that many from distance. He's taken a couple tonight, but hasn't been able to get one in.
For the Huskies, if you can score here in 10 seconds, that's why George Mason has the press. You could go 2 for 1, but it looks like Northeastern's going to go for 1 solid possession.
Walker bounces it to Lee. Just under 40 seconds left. Won't be able to hold on for last shot unless they get an offensive rebound now. Dinka Marshavelsky gets it in from the right block. The shot clock turned off. Under 30 seconds to go, and Northeastern up by 8, their largest lead of the game. George Mason will try to whittle that down with a last-second shot, and Paul Hewitt will call a timeout on the George Mason bench.
For Dinko Marshavelsky, though, it's automatic at this point. When he catches it down on that low block, he looks so comfortable going to both hands with the layup, with the finishes. He's their leading scorer in the game, and he's been huge for them. He's
got 8 points on 4 for 4 shooting. And just a reminder, tonight is the Coaches versus Cancer game. Text the word COACH to 20222 to make a $5 donation to Coaches versus Cancer and the American Cancer Society. Big cause again, Coach Cohen donating $1 for every student in attendance here at Matthews Arena tonight. It looks to be a big crowd from what we can see downstairs, so hopefully that's a big check. Sorry, Coach, but I wouldn't mind lightening your wallet a little bit tonight for a good cause.
Absolutely, and here's Marshavelsky. We said Reggie Spencer 2 fouls. He had to go out. The Northeastern needed some good minutes from Marshavelsky, and they needed him to stay out of foul trouble, and he's done that, and we've seen from both baselines that little bit of floater. The Huskies, though, back in action here.
Has not missed a shot yet tonight, and now 12 seconds left to go. Gray has it for George Mason. Now over his head, Vaughns inside the three-point line, tries a little bit long. 3 seconds left, second chance try, tip in, cannot go, and that will end the half. Northeastern maybe a little bit lucky that George Mason couldn't get anything in. They had a few shots right there at the end of the first half, but Northeastern will go to the locker room with an 8-point lead, 29-21. Not a great first half really for either team by any measure, but Northeastern at the end able to push that lead out a little bit further and take advantage.
And this play, just the story of the first half. George Mason can't capitalize on their situations. Northeastern's been more efficient offensively. They've taken advantage of more of George Mason's mistakes. And an 8-point lead in a low-scoring game like this, a huge lead for the Huskies going into the locker room.
3 shots there in the last 10 seconds for George Mason, and then Zach Stahl stripped a fourth right underneath the baskets. It may or may not have been off the fingers by the time the clock expired anyways, but it is an 8-point advantage for Northeastern as we go to halftime, 29-21. We'll be back with about 3 minutes left on the clock before play resumes. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Go NU Extreme. We'll talk to you again in a few minutes.